Well, good afternoon here. We're in day 12 down here at Las Vegas, Nevada Federal Court in the Bundy trial. We've had another good morning so far. A lot of new things we're again learning, and I'll kind of go over the morning with you as people come on. We've had several new people come in from different parts of the country again today to join us in the trial. We've got a gentleman from Florida that's here. He's going to be here for a few days, it sounds like, to observe. We've also got a state representative, Dorothy Moon, from Idaho. Her and her husband are here. We are honored to have them here in the courtroom observing and listening. They've been some great supporters. As you know, that there was a letter that she had got signed a while back for some of the Idaho political prisoners. They got 53 signatures at that point, and she's even added another signature since then. So we got 54 signatures on that. I sat down with her just briefly before here. Hi, Kaylee, how you doing? And Mark, and good to see everybody on here. Melissa. So this morning we started out as normal, trying to take care of some objections and motions for the first half hour of the hour. It took us about an hour actually as we got started. There was a lot of things argued back and forth of what was going to be allowed and what wasn't going to be allowed. The government only wanted to play a portion of a recording that was recorded of Ryan Bundy at one point, and this was back in March of 2014, prior to the roundup or the impoundment of the cows. This recording, they wanted to play about 10 minutes of an hour-long recording of Ryan. Mr. Whipple got up and argued that this whole thing should be put in, not just part of it. And the government keeps asserting back that this is self-serving, that it has no beneficial things in it that will benefit the defense team or the prosecution, that is self-serving. All it does is bring out like character-type witnesses, a character witness of the defendant himself or something like that, that they didn't want the jurors to hear this. And so anyway, we argued that for quite some time. The judge overruled them as normal in most of these incidents and said that she was not going to allow this whole video or this whole recording to be played. She was only going to allow this 10 minutes or so that the government wanted to have heard by the jurors. So anyway, we called in our first witness of today and this week, which is witness number 3. Another government agent is Shalakis. He is a special BLM officer. He actually has worked since 1998 in law enforcement. And several things that came out with this witness that I found interesting. He actually goes to training to learn how to be a witness on the stand. And they ask him, how many times have you been a witness for the government? He said so many times he didn't even know. He couldn't even count how many times he's testified on the behalf of the federal government in some form or another. He, again, like I said, he's been to training to be a witness. So he's a professional witness that works for the government. This agent started testifying on things that was happening in the month of March. He's not supposed to testify at this point on anything about the impoundment at this point. He may be called later. The government has reserved their right to recall him at a later point to bring in other types of evidence at a later point. So right now, March 17th is the dates roundabout that we are discussing on his testimony. And we're not supposed to stray from that, just around the month of March. But Mr. Shalakis and Mr. Johnson, both BLM officers, went out prior to the impoundment, went to the Bundy home looking for Clive and Bundy or any of the Bundy family to let them know that this impoundment supposedly was going to be taking place. And their job was to see what the reactions of the Bundys were. Whether the Bundys were going to act in violence back or fight them or try to stop the impoundment. What they were just trying to gather evidence on this. He made no contact with any family members up until this one point. And they was driving around out on the range looking for cows, looking for Bundy's members of the family to see if they could come across any of them out on the public lands. And they came across one member of the Bundy family. His last name is Cox. He's married to one of Cliven's daughters, Chancey Cox. I think that's his name, Chancey Cox. Clancy Cox. And sorry about getting names wrong here, but Clancy Cox. They came across him and they wanted him to see if he could get a hold of Cliven. And he was able to get a hold of Cliven. Clancy was able to get a hold of him on the phone and talk to Cliven just a few moments, and the conversation ended. During this whole questioning of this witness, it came out some brand new evidence. This brand new evidence is that these two agents recorded the whole conversation between Clancy and another individual that was with Clancy. They recorded it. This was a recording that we've never known about again until today. So what's the biggest part about this recording is that they intentionally kept it away from the defense again. And what was in this recording that that they wanted to keep it out away from the defense? What we found out up until now, and we're going to find out, the judge gave the prosecutors at lunch here 1 hour to produce this video. This recording, 1 hour. So after lunch, this recording is supposed to, the prosecutors have to have that back in this courtroom. She wants to hear this because these two agents supposedly right now, and it hasn't came out 100%, but this is the allegations from the defense team, from Mr. Whipple, that these two agents solicited Clancy Cox to become an informant, or they tried to bribe him, is what Mr. Whipple said, to work as an informant against the Bundy family, to offer him compensation, possibly offer him no jail time or arrest for not interfering. It's really broad. Like, what all did they offer him? What did they threaten Clancy Cox with? Clancy turned down their offer, would not work with them. He even up on the threats of these alleged threats that the agents offered. But we're going to find out, hopefully after lunch, what was in those recordings if the prosecutors do their job and turn over these recordings. That is the biggest news of the day. Other than that, after the jurors left the room and just before she let us out for lunch, the prosecution held their peace until the jurors left. They was very upset. They said that Mr. Whipple accused a federal officer of a federal crime that he would never commit, of committing bribery. This never happened. And the judge says, well, I want to see the recording then. Where's the recording? Why haven't you given it over to the defense up until now? They was totally mute on that. They didn't have an answer of why they didn't return it in, except that, well, the defense could have asked us for it if they wanted it. Well, nobody knew about this recording until today. How could they ask for something they don't know? If they have discovery and information hidden from the defense and have not turned it over with the other thousands and thousands of other documents, why did this recording get left out on the same day that they actually recorded Ryan Bundy for an hour, but we don't even know about this other recording? Why did they leave that out? So this is big news here for the defense. It's definitely going to be an interesting afternoon, and again, it proves misconduct by these prosecutors up here. And we've got a lot more information hopefully coming out here after lunch. Did this BLM officer, Salakis and Johnson, did they talk to the prosecution back in March of 2014. We've got one of the members of the prosecution team that was there on the ground. We want to know all the connection here and what this government is hiding. It's fallen apart day by day, and it's very encouraging to see and be a part of this and be part of this. Another good point here before I close is that Greg Burleson and Todd Engel, they definitely need a retrial. At the very least, their case was built on fraud, and their case was built on lies in the first trial and the second trial. They definitely need a retrial, and they need released immediately pending this retrial. It was all the evidence that has been brought out in just these last 2 weeks could have exonerated those guys, could have found them and would have found them not guilty based on what we're hearing now. Those jurors should have got all this information. Those defendants should have got all of this this evidence that has been kept back and has been coming out. The video cameras, the snipers, all of this stuff was not allowed in that first trial. The government, the prosecutors intentionally kept this from those jurors, and those jurors did not get to hear the full truth. I've got to be back in court in just a few minutes, but we're gonna have a big ending here to the end of this day. Well, what we're gonna find out today is gonna be very interesting, and it's gonna be could be a big dismissal. It should be a dismissal, but we'll see if this judge allows that, or if she's going to continue with the tyranny in this courtroom the way things have been going and continue letting this stuff be hidden. Again, thanks everybody. We'll be back again as quick as we can, about 5 o'clock or shortly after, as soon as this next session is over with, and we'll have you some more updates. Thanks again, everybody. God bless, and we'll keep you informed.